Hey guys, Jeff here, also known as TSX Trader from LiveStreamTrading.com. How are you doing? I hope you had a great day. I wanted to take a moment and go over a few of the triggers we had today on dry ships. There's actually 3 triggers on dry ships, but I only traded one of them, and I'm going to tell you why. Before I get into it, I would like to also take a moment to talk a little bit about the market sentiment in the last couple of days and a little bit about adapting to that market. So there's one thing that I think can really separate a newer trader, someone that's been around for maybe a year or 2 years, versus someone that's been trading the markets for, say, 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years, is the longer that you've been trading the market, I feel the more you're able to adapt to different conditions and the quicker you'll find yourself adapting. So it's really important to know, when does it make sense to take a risk, a big risk, and when does it make sense to protect your capital? And for the last 2 days, the overall sentiment in the small cap market has been slower. So we've been protecting our capital a little bit more. We've been taking less trades. In fact, yesterday I had one trade that was a short on ESES, and today I had 3 triggers on dry ships, one that I took. I'm going to tell you why. Why did I only take that one trade? I got 3 triggers. The first one was 360. I got a long signal at 360 on dry ships. The stop would have been 352, so I was looking at maybe an 8-cent risk on this trade. And as you can see, wow, that would have been a monster grand slam home run trade. Typically, if I was trading this and following the system that I usually use, I would have pieced this out in 4 parts, and the last quarter of this trade would have been out over 480. So that would have been an incredible trade, over a point. So why didn't I take the trade at 360? Well, obviously in hindsight, that was a mistake. I could have made some really good money on that trade. I'll tell you why though. Because the overall sentiment in the market this week it's been very weak. Overall the market on Monday, we had SPY rolling over pretty hard. And today it was kind of the same story. We were looking through all the gainers today. We had, several stocks that were up pre-market that just couldn't follow through. We had AEZS, for example, which was kind of perking up here off VWAP. Looked like it might be good for a setup. No dice. We had CARA. Someone else mentioned that in chat. They thought it looked good for a buy. On this correction right here, I advised against it. I didn't get a buy signal on that. It did fail. There was a handful, and even yesterday, same deal on ESES. It had a chance to spike up. Sorry, that was this morning actually. It had the chance to spike up. It didn't follow through. So you got to be able to quickly say to yourself, okay, well, you know what, this market, we're not really right now. The focus isn't apparently on small cap stocks where people aren't just chasing them up. There are times where it's a chaser's market. There's times where, pardon my wording, but stupidity gets rewarded. There are times where people can chase stocks up that are up 200-300% on the day and still make money. But as soon as that stops working, those guys tend to get killed, and then we make more, get more short opportunities. Like again, yesterday on ESES, granted that did squeeze end today. I got a sell trigger on this one, and we got 3 parts out for a nice profit near 150, and the 4th part was just below a break even over 65. So not a huge trade, but I'm just following my system, following my triggers and adapting to the market. So if I know that things aren't breaking out, following through, if the overall sentiment is not as bullish as it was a month ago, then obviously I'm not sticking a bunch of money into long trades. I'm being a little more conservative. And there are times where it makes sense to put more capital into a trade when it makes sense, but I think the hardest part, or one of the most difficult things people find to decipher, is when does it make sense to do that. So the reason I left the dry ships trade at 360 behind, regretfully, is because the sentiment wasn't there in the market for it. I mean, I know that everyone was interested in buying this one today, and here's what happened. Just like every other stock this morning, the stock had a huge run up, everyone chased it, and then it washed out. So this opening candle, there was a lot of volume in these opening candles here today, and there's a ton of volume pre-market. In fact, the stock traded over 165 million shares today. And I think the float now, that's incorrect, it's around 36 million shares, I believe. So we rotated the float several times on the stock. The opening candle trade didn't work. I didn't try it. I don't trade the opening candle, but I waited for a setup on this, and I did identify that I had a trigger at 360 on this setup, and literally 8-cent risk on this trade. I alerted it in the chat room and over the live stream, but I said I wasn't going to take the trade because so far from what we've seen in the last 2 days, nothing is following through, and I don't want to lead my group into a bad trade, even if it is just 8-cent risk. I wasn't confident that it was going to get the follow through. So again, a bit of a error in judgment because this one did follow through. Again, there is a quote that I like to go back to, and I say this all the time: is I'd rather be out and wishing I was in than in and wishing I was out. So that's an example of I was gauging the overall market sentiment. We had again Kara, which was up on the day, looked like it may have a secondary move, failed. Lately we've had stuff like ESES just not following through. We've had several other stocks that just, the overall sentiment has been clearly just not the same as it was a month ago or 2 months ago when things were just running nonstop. So we've just adapted to that. And I mean, if you look through our results for this month, I started journaling every trade, every live trade that I've taken over the live stream since the 11th of January. That's when we started doing the stream. That was directly after my trading partner and our moderator, JB, did a webinar explaining to us how well it's worked for him. And since we started doing this journal, I've been trading less and making and doing better. So typically a lot of the times I would have maybe 5, sometimes even 10 trades a day. I got it down to between 1 to 3 trades a day, sometimes 4 or 5 triggers, but I might not trade all of them. So we're actually 10 long trades since the 11th, 9 short trades, 17 wins, 2 losses. It sounds almost unreal. I do think that once we have a larger sample size, obviously the losses column is going to increase. I don't think this is a big enough sample size of trades to say that, this is what you can expect in the live stream. But what you can expect in the live stream is top-notch, 100% my favorite quality setups with good low-risk entry points, with stops, targets, and everything in between. Play-by-play commentary, like the trade on DRYS today, DRYS. I want to show you an example of how we wait for the right opportunity to attack, and I want to go over basically just the trade we took today on DRYS. So obviously, look, very frustrating to miss this trade this morning, right? But I don't chase momentum. I don't believe in buying the opening candle, alerting people, and trying to ride their coattails on a trade. So we trade stocks that have volume, stocks that everybody can participate in, stocks that that I can actually have time to explain the setup I'm looking at and give people an opportunity to really think about what they're doing, not just chase the opening candle of a low float stock off the open. Okay, we don't do that. So this is the trade we took today. We're looking at DRYS, had a huge run up. We knew it needed a correction, and I knew that I wasn't going to trade it over the lunch period. So between 12 basically and 1:15, this is kind of the stay away zone for me. But I used that opportunity during the mid-afternoon to start, formulating a plan. So what if it does this? Then what am I going to do? And then if it does this, what am I going to do? Today I had shorts available on the stock if I had wanted to short it. I did take some borrows. I didn't get to use them. I did get one short trigger that I'll show you later, and I didn't get filled on it. So this is an opportunity here where there is plenty of time for everybody to get involved in this trade. I'm not going to get into detail of why the trade got triggered, but I essentially use a pretty simple 4-point system that just sort of gives you the guideline. It'll let you know before you think about taking a long setup, if it meets these 4 points that we teach in our group, then you're at least going to be halfway there. And then after that, the timing is the most important thing. So one thing that people will notice trading with me is that typically when I make a call or take a trade, I'm either going to be right or wrong, typically within sometimes a minute or two, usually less than 5 minutes. So it's very, very specific to timing. And with this trade was no different. Within 1 minute of my entry, we started breaking out. So the timing was everything with this trade. There are a couple things in this chart that I think a lot of people miss that I'm not going to get into right now that caused me to get even more bullish on it. But the bottom line is, guys, during this little consolidation over 475, it gave us plenty of time for me to explain every piece of information, everything that I'm seeing in the chart, and what my full plan is going to be on this trade. So anyone that was watching over the live stream had plenty of time to prepare for the opportunity to take this trade. Of course, if it meets their criteria and if they want to trade it with me, I typically don't recommend to just blindly mirror trades. I don't think that's a good way to learn, but I do think that at the end of the day, if you took it, say for example, you're practicing on a sim or something, and you took it on a sim and you see that it works, and then you add it to your journal and you reinforce that pattern as something that you're going to trade again sometime, it's going to be really helpful to you, right? So I think there's a lot of value in actually giving some live entries and exits. So again, we just started doing that in January of 2017. At first, I thought it might be a bad idea, because then it might just attract people that just want nothing but then just to be told what to do. And that's not really the idea of what we got going on here at LiveStream Trading. We really are focused on developing traders mentally, psychologically, and sort of turning them into, helping them mold them into someone that can really think outside the box and really, put these plays together. We focus a lot on risk management, so I'm going to show you how this trade was set up. I was looking at this trade as one that we could be risking off basically 460 originally, but that wasn't good enough. I wanted something on this trade where we could get our risk down to literally 8 cents or 10 cents max per share. This is where we tend to really shine, is finding areas where we can enter and have the risk ultra low. So originally, we're back here, and I'm looking at this setup, and I'm looking, okay, well, 460 is holding some nice support. As you can see, 50 EMA is holding nicely. But here's where I think a few people may go wrong. Some less experienced guys may find themselves, for example, trying to buy this breakout right here, which I have some really good reasons as to why this setup is going to fail 70% of the time, based on my experience with these types of setups. And the reason why is maybe more obvious than you'd think. But the second time around here, okay, this one, I think some people may have bought this setup. If they did, and they had a tight stop, they may have gotten stopped out on this candle. For me, the trigger came after that reclaim. So I slid this line up. What I do is when I take a trade on the live stream, okay, I'm already talking about it well in advance, usually 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes before. We're already lining it up, stocking it, and waiting for the entry. I knew that I'd be looking for a buy on this one anywhere between basically 80 and the high of this prior candle right here, 87. And I wanted to get us in a spot where we could risk off 74. And that's what we got. After this last little dip and hold, I got my buy signal right just on this candle right here through 80. There was a massive offer at 480 on DRYS. And I just smashed the offer. I was fairly confident that the time of day was perfect, and the way that this set up, there's a couple things in this chart that are really indicative of a good possible short squeeze, plus new longs are going to come in, okay? But the point is, guys, the entry in this trade, 480, the stop, 474. That was the trade, that was the call we took over the live stream today. We're talking about a 6 cent risk, and the stock went as high as 570, 575. But the thing I like most about this trade, guys, is that the stock has liquidity. The stock has the opportunity for you to get in and get out where you need to and where you want to, okay? So that was the trade from today. I have some notes on it. It wasn't a perfect trade, but the entry, guys, was spot on. The risk management in terms of risk reward, perfect, okay? I have some notes. I am critical of my trading. You should be too. You should be keeping detailed notes of every trade and just try to learn from those notes. So I got the long trigger at 180 on DRYS, and I want to just remind you guys that after missing the 360 entry, I'm not into scalping anymore. Like, I'm not really scalping this all day long. I'm just looking for the trade, you know? Someone in our group today, it was his first day in the group. He took 10 trades on dry ships, and his best trade was the 480 long, and he sold at 424 on his trade. So really, really well done. And that was his best trade of the day. So he's starting to kind of see, like, maybe I should slow it down a bit and just look for the best of the best. 1 to 3 trades. That's what it takes to really make a good day. So I'm going to go over, guys, like, just the points on this trade that I make. I'm hard on myself, and that's how you get good at this game, is you get critical of what you're doing and find out what you're doing wrong and how you can do it better. So I did alert this one 480. It was a buy off the offer, so I used a limit order. I did put my limit order up to 484, so I would have bought anything between 480 and 484. It looked like it was going to rip. And I actually sold some pretty quickly right away in the first push. I do think that was a bit hasty, and I'll show you why. Because the ultimate breakout was actually through 5. So at this point, you're almost positive this is going to break 5. So I was a little quick to take out some shares there, but I always teach these guys to take a quarter out in the first push. Now, if we stop out at 474, we're either going to be flat. So even if we take a 6-cent loss on the other 3 quarters, we already locked in a quarter. So it's basically going to be either a flat trade or a win, no matter what. So the emotions are eliminated, and we can just let that ride. My ultimate target on the trade was 522, and that's exactly where I got out. Okay, I pieced it out at I wrote down the X's here: 490, 498, 512, and 522. Of course, you can look at the chart afterwards and go, "Oh man, that went quite a bit higher," and sure it did. But the point here is the risk was 6 cents per share. So at 524, you're getting basically 4 times the 6-cent risk. So that's a really nice trade. Any day of the week, I'll take that. Any time I see this setup, and all the stars are aligned and the volume is there and the time of day is right, this is a trade I'll size into every time. So it gave us a wonderful opportunity today. It gave us a second chance for those of us that missed the 360 buy. And I guess at the end of the day, it's disappointing to have missed that 360 buy, but I know some people you might miss a setup and they get frustrated and start chasing things around and get emotional. Just wait. There's another setup around the corner, and it might take all afternoon to get there, but this is such a good example of stalking all day and then finding that perfect timed entry where you can risk 6 cents to make a point. Granted, I sold a bit early, but the risk reward, the risk management, all the stuff we teach is perfectly shown on this chart right here. And I was being a little critical of myself. I think that typically what I do is I wait for if I'm following my system to a T, I'm waiting for a full trend reversal in the last quarter. So I really should have had shares left over up until the full trend break. But that was our dry ships trade, and that was one of 19 trades that we took live over the stream since January 11th, 2017. Since I have started documenting, journaling, I've taken a lot more accountability for my actions and just think twice about before I trade before I take it. It makes me really ask myself a few questions. Is one, is this a trade that I want affecting my data in my journal? Because this journal, not only is it sort of like a learning tool for you, but it's also something that you can use to collect data on what's working and what isn't, and that's extremely valuable. So if I take a trade that is not part of the system that I'm trying to trade, then it's going to skew my data. If I take a loss because I chased up dry ships and took a buy up here, and then it stops me out, well, then it's going to kind of skew my data. Of course, I'll get something to learn from it. I'll see a chart visually and see what I did wrong, but it would actually skew the data. So I'm trying to really stick to my guns here and just keep going with what's been working lately. And just a little bit of background about my trading history is I've been doing this now for 10 years. I started prop trading at 21. I'm now 31 years old. I started with a prop firm, and immediately within the second day I was trading 100 lot shares, and it did get me into scalping. So I was using hotkeys right away. It's in 2005. It was actually 2005 when I started. And I was using hotkeys right away. They were the ones that taught me how to use them. And I was a master scalper and just a maniac. I trade like sometimes 100 or 200 trades a day. So it's kind of crazy to go from making 100 or 200 trades a day to 3 trades a day or 3 or 4 triggers, So that was the start of my trading history. And then from there, we had the 2008 crash and I survived that. I've been through so many different market conditions. I've traded Toronto Stock Exchange, TSX Venture. I know these markets. I know these stocks. And it's just fantastic to be able to have a real grasp on, clear and concise entry points, knowing, when to conserve capital, when to put it on the line. That's something that people miss. People miss the overall sentiment. A lot of them do anyways. And, this is just stuff that you don't learn it overnight. You learn it over years. But I think that, one of the best things that we've done in the last week or two is aside from all these great trades that we've had, is we've avoided so many losses that could have happened with certain setups, like Kara. A lot of people will take this as a viable setup. It just didn't quite meet the criteria that I'm looking for a buy signal on this, and so it's an easily avoidable miss. ESES, another one. You chase that candle up. That's not my style. I'm looking for a real setup here. But to me, when I'm looking, at stuff like these low flow stocks, I don't really think it's a sustainable strategy for anyone to try to chase a stock up on the opening 1 minute candle. I mean, just my opinion. There's just not enough liquidity. It's too dangerous. It's too hard to make a clear risk plan, and just by waiting for that next dip, we can start to look at, more safe areas to get in and have a real trade plan. And people have been seeing way more consistent success by, being patient and waiting for the right opportunities to get in. Let the amateurs chase up the opening candle and let the pros wait for a dip, a pullback, and a setup that we can actually trade. So, guys, I guess maybe I'll go over just like a couple of losses that we took this month. Because they're small. I want to show you that the losses are every trade is planned in a way that the risk reward is going to be minimum 3 to 1. Sometimes they compound into pretty big trades if we add to winners and sort of slide our stops up. I usually trail my stop. But PULM was one, and that wasn't a bad one. I was skeptical about it anyways because the short sell restriction was on. I did actually get a legitimate sell trigger on it, or short trigger through 218, hit 210, gave us a higher low at 215, and my gut was telling me to cover it. I got a little stubborn, just missed my exit on it, ended up getting 230, so I lost like 12 cents a share on that one. Actually might have had a cover, entry, I had, the stop was supposed to be 23, 26 max. It had a little bit of a slippage there, so the exits were like 30 and 32. So that was like maybe a $200 loss, no big deal. And NAKD, this was I'll tell you why I love this loss, is because I've seen this exact same chart, 5 times since this trade, and I avoided it every time. And in fact, I shorted it once and made money on it. So that's why this trade journal is so valuable. This was a bit of a greed entry. I knew this wasn't a legitimate setup. We had bounced back over VWAP. It was a low float stock. This was, and again, guys, this was during the time where the sentiment of the entire market was extremely bullish. Things were ripping. Stocks were just chaser. It was a chaser's paradise. People were taking things, secondary and third moves, and these stocks were happening daily. So this is your standard low floater. Some chat room buys it up off the open. We wait for a setup, and then we attack the real setup. So the overall sentiment was so bullish. I was like, you know what? I want to get in on this trade. I'll tell you what I thought about this one. I thought that this was going to bounce up, hold a higher low, get some shorts involved, and then set up for a second and third push like every other stock did for the last 2 weeks at this time. So I got in a little early there, and if you can just go through my notes here, the entry was 314. My initial stop was 3. My exits were 329, so I actually made a profit on the first bit. But then it immediately dumped, and I got it at 310, and the last third, unfortunately, I got a terrible fill at 289, and it serves me right. But I did document this trade. I journaled it, and now I look at this pattern, and man, it is burned in my mind. I know this pattern now, and I know that the sad thing is I actually got a sell signal, a short signal on this through 310, and I couldn't trade it, 308 actually right there, and I actually couldn't trade it because I was already long. So lesson learned, and that's the beauty of the trade journal. So guys, congratulations to everybody who had a fantastic month in January. I have made some very specific adjustments to not only my trading, but the way that we're running our live trading service. And so far, it's been just really very positive and very inspiring. We now have, I'm not going to get too far into this, but I mean, just some people, like for example, today, a brand new trader just joined us. First trade with us in DRYS in at 81, out at 320, out at 522 with 2,500 shares for a nice win. And someone who joined us about 2 or 3 months ago now, and this isn't obviously not a typical result, but he's actually doubled his small account, or is $200 away from doubling his small account that he started with 3 months ago. So there's a lot of opportunity for those that are actually patient and want to really learn this business. So I guess that's it, guys. That's sort of my review for the month. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope I can keep putting out some free content for you guys. I know not everyone's ready to trade and ready to open an account, but there's no better time than the present, to start listening to the live stream, get, detailed play-by-play information on price action cues, what we're seeing in the charts. There's things that you're just going to pick up and learn that I don't think that you can really get anywhere else without that live feel to it. I think the absolute best thing you can do, even if you feel like you're not ready to trade a live account yet, is to go ahead and pick up something that you can trade, like a simulator or some kind of like maybe TC2000 paper account, and just follow along and start taking some of the trades with me on your paper account. Show yourself that, that it's working. Start logging the trades, journal them, and show yourself that it's working. And then once you are confident enough and you see that these trades and ideas are working, and you're starting to formulate trades and ideas of your own, and you understand the risk management concepts, and you're just ready to do it, and then we'll just start small and take baby steps from there, But there's no better time than the present to start learning and get into this if you are serious about it. For those of you that are not ready, I'll do my best to put out as much quality free content as I possibly can on the YouTube channel going forward, and especially our email list. If you are on our email list, you can sign up at www.livestreamtrading.com. I will send you one video, at least one a month, probably one per month, probably, but at the very least, one every 2 months. I won't send you much else, just the best quality members-only videos that we'll share one or two here and there, but on the YouTube channel, I'd like to also keep up with the content as well. So stay tuned, guys. Thanks very much for the support, and for everyone who continues to trade with us, and all the positive vibes and comments and everything. I really appreciate it, and having a great group of guys to trade with, it actually makes my day a whole lot better. So I appreciate you guys too. Thanks very much, guys. Have a great night. We will talk to you soon on the live stream. Cheers.